No one in the alien empire expected humanity to matter. That mistake would change the fate of the galaxy. Max Hale was invisible. On Earth, invisibility was not a superpower. It meant people looked past you, stepped around you, and forgot your name the moment you turned away. Max was 26, thin, tired, and worked night shifts cleaning a research facility on the edge of Neo-Chicago. He was smart, but life had never given him a stage to prove it. The galaxy would soon hand him one. On the night everything changed, Max was pushing a cleaning cart through Cryolife Labs, humming softly to stay awake. The building housed humanity's richest gamble, long-term cryogenic preservation for elites who believed the future was worth waiting for. Politicians. Tycoons. One name was everywhere. Elias Vaughn. The first trillionaire in human history. Max had seen Vaughn's face on screens since childhood. The man was frozen in Pod 7, waiting to wake up centuries later and rule whatever future remained. A warning light blinked red above Pod 7. Max frowned. That wasn't normal. He leaned closer, wiping condensation from the glass. Inside the pod, the silhouette looked wrong. Smaller. Thinner. The system chimed again, louder this time. A message flashed in warning colors Max didn't recognize. Before he could step back, the floor vibrated. Light exploded around him. The world folded inward like crushed paper. Max screamed, then vanished. When Max woke, the air felt wrong. Too clean. Too sharp. He gasped and rolled onto a smooth metallic floor as voices echoed around him, layered and musical, speaking a language that hummed in his bones. Bright shapes moved overhead. Tall figures with luminous eyes stared down at him in silence. A device hovered near his face, scanning. One of the beings straightened suddenly. "The readings confirm it," the alien said. "It is him." Another bowed deeply. The human prime asset. Max tried to speak, but his throat burned. Where am I?" The aliens froze. The tallest one stepped forward, skin like polished silver, eyes glowing soft blue. "Do not strain yourself, honored one. You are safe. You are among allies." Allies? Max sat up slowly. The room was enormous, filled with floating displays and crystal structures that bent light like water. Outside a transparent wall, stars drifted, too many, too close. This wasn't Earth. "I think you've made a mistake," Max said carefully. The alien smiled. "We do not make mistakes." The Galactic Dominion had been watching Earth for decades. Humans were primitive, emotional, and divided, but their economy fascinated the Dominion. One human name dominated every data stream: Elias Vaughn. Wealth beyond calculation. Influence beyond borders. A single human controlling more resources than entire star systems. To the Dominion, wealth meant power. Power meant danger. When their long-range sensors detected the activation of Vaughn's cryogenic signature, they acted immediately. A precision extraction. Silent. Clean. But the pod data had been corrupted. They did not take Elias Vaughn. They took Max Hale. Max was dressed in clothes that felt like liquid silk. He was escorted through halls larger than cities, watched by guards who treated him like royalty. Everywhere he went, aliens bowed. Some looked curious. Others looked afraid. A female alien with gold-veined skin introduced herself as Overseer Calith. "You have been asleep for many cycles," she said gently. "The galaxy has changed." Max nodded slowly, saying nothing. Good. Let them talk. Years of being ignored had taught him something valuable. People reveal more when they think you are powerful. "We know your kind values subtlety," Calith continued. "You hid your empire well. Even we underestimated it." Empire. Max swallowed. "So," he said carefully, "what exactly do you think I control?" Calith smiled, but there was tension in it. "Markets. Resources. Influence. Information. You humans call it money." Max almost laughed. Instead, he leaned back, silent. The alien interpreted silence as confirmation. They gave him a residence the size of a small country. Artificial sunlight. Gravity tuned to human comfort. Food printers that adjusted flavors based on neural feedback. Max explored slowly, asking simple questions, listening carefully. The Dominion feared him. That was clear. They believed Earth's wealth elites secretly ruled from the shadows, manipulating trade across species. They thought Max was the mind behind it all. And no one had bothered to double-check. Max realized the truth with chilling clarity. If he told them who he really was, he would be useless. If he played along, he might survive. That night, staring out at a spiral galaxy burning violet and gold, Max made a choice. He would not pretend to be rich. He would pretend to be dangerous. The first test came sooner than expected. A council of alien nobles gathered in a floating chamber, arguing in sharp tones. Max sat at the center, elevated above them on a gravity platform. Trade routes were collapsing. Pirate clans were rising. The Dominion wanted a solution. They wanted his solution. Max listened. Patterns formed in his mind. It was familiar. Too familiar. Supply chains. Bottlenecks. Human problems. Scaled up. He spoke calmly. Your issue isn't piracy, Max said. It's predictability. The room went silent. You move goods the same way every cycle. Humans learned long ago that efficiency without adaptability invites collapse. He suggested something simple. Randomized routing. Redundant microcontracts. Civilian incentives instead of military suppression. The aliens stared. Then the simulations ran. Losses dropped by 40%. Pirate activity declined within hours. The council erupted in stunned whispers. Kalith looked at Max with something new in her eyes. Respect. Fear. News spread fast. The human billionaire was not just rich. He was brilliant. Max returned to his chambers that night exhausted, hands shaking once the doors sealed shut. He wasn't a genius. He was just human. Used to chaos. Used to failure. Used to adapting. The Dominion had mistaken wealth for power. They had forgotten something else. Humanity was forged in scarcity, in struggle, in mistakes. And Max Hale, janitor, nobody, invisible man, was about to show the galaxy what humans did best when backed into a corner. He smiled softly, staring at the stars. They thought they had captured a billionaire. What they had really taken was a survivor. Power changed how the aliens looked at Max. It was subtle at first. A pause before speaking. A careful choice of words. Guards who stood a little straighter when he passed. Servants who waited for permission before leaving the room. Max noticed everything. On Earth, he had learned to read people because he had no power of his own. Now, surrounded by beings who believed he controlled entire civilizations, those instincts became his shield. The lie grew heavier with every passing day. The Galactic Dominion began to involve him in matters far beyond trade routes. Military logistics. Energy allocation. Population control on frontier worlds. They did not ask orders directly. They asked for opinions. And then they followed them. Max spent hours studying alien data feeds, not because he wanted to rule, but because ignorance would get him killed. The Dominion systems were advanced, but rigid. Too rigid. Their algorithms optimized for stability, not chaos. Humans lived in chaos. That was the difference. During one council session, an admiral with scarred obsidian skin slammed a clawed hand onto the table. The border colonies are refusing Dominion quotas, the admiral growled. We should deploy force. Max leaned forward slowly. Force is expensive, he said. And it teaches the wrong lesson. The room waited. You punish one colony, Max continued, and 10 others will prepare to resist. But if you change the incentive, they will police themselves. He proposed something radical. Reduce quotas. Allow local trade autonomy. Offer rewards for surplus instead of punishment for shortage. The military protested. The economists hesitated. Then the data models updated. Compliance rose. Production increased. Rebellion dropped. Again. The Dominion began to fear Max not for his wealth, but for his mind. Not everyone was convinced. In the shadowed halls beyond the council chambers, whispers spread. "He does not act like the others," said a noble with crystalline eyes. "He hides something," replied another. A faction within the Dominion, known as the Purists, believed humans were dangerous not because of wealth, but because of unpredictability. To them, Max was a threat that needed exposing. They began to watch him. Max sensed it. Eyes lingered longer. Conversations stopped when he entered. Access permissions were delayed without explanation. The lie was starting to crack. Kalith visited him that evening. She stood near the window, looking out at a blue-white star. "You are changing things faster than expected," she said. Max shrugged lightly. "Change scares people." "Yes," she agreed. "Especially those who benefit from the old way." There was a pause. "Why do you really do this?" Kalith asked. "You could demand tribute. Control worlds. Yet you do not." Max met her gaze. "Because systems that crush people eventually collapse," he said simply. "Humans learned that the hard way." Kalith studied him, searching for something beneath the words. She did not find the truth. But she found sincerity. The Purists made their move days later. Max was summoned to a private evaluation chamber under the excuse of a routine diplomatic scan. The room was cold, circular, filled with devices that hummed softly. A tall alien stepped forward, eyes glowing red. "We wish to understand your influence," the alien said. "Fully." Max felt his pulse spike. Scanners activated, projecting light across his body. Neural mapping. Genetic sampling. Behavioral analysis. This was bad. Very bad. Human wealth left digital footprints. Financial trails. Power networks. Max had none. He closed his eyes. "Think like a human," he told himself. "Think like someone who has nothing to lose." The scanners began to display anomalies. "Your neural patterns show extreme adaptability," one technician said. "But not dominance conditioning." The Purist leader narrowed his eyes. "Explain." Max spoke before they could dig deeper. "Do you know how humans survived their early history?" he asked calmly. The Purists hesitated. "We were weak," Max continued. "No claws. No armor. No natural weapons. So we learned something else." He tapped his temple lightly. "We learned how to change." He leaned forward, voice steady. "You are searching for wealth because that is how you define power. Humans define power by survival. By resilience. By cooperation under pressure." The room fell silent. The scanners recalibrated. They found no deception. Because Max wasn't lying. Just redirecting the truth. The Purists backed off, unsettled. They did not expose him. But they did not trust him either. Max knew then. Time was running out. Far beyond the Dominion, another force was watching. The Carex Collective. An expansionist empire that consumed civilizations and stripped them of identity. Their spies had intercepted Dominion transmissions. They learned of a human who bent alien economies with words alone. They wanted him. A fleet changed course. Toward the Dominion. Toward Max. The warning came too late. Alarms screamed across the capital station. Red light flooded the halls. Military vessels scrambled as massive shapes emerged from hyperspace. The Carex had arrived. Their message was simple. "Surrender the human asset," the transmission said, "or be erased." Panic swept the council. Weapons systems activated. Shields flared. But the Carex fleet dwarfed them. Kalith turned to Max, fear barely hidden. "They came for you." Max stared at the tactical display, mind racing. This wasn't about wealth. This was about reputation. And reputation could destroy worlds. He took a breath. "Open a channel," he said. The council hesitated. "Do it," he repeated. The channel opened. The Carex commander appeared, towering, armored, eyes burning with hunger. "You will be delivered," the commander said, "or your empire will fall." Max met its gaze. "No," he said simply. Silence. Then laughter echoed through the channel. "You are a single human," the commander sneered. "You have no fleet." Max nodded. "Correct." He smiled. "But humans don't fight fair." As the channel closed, Max turned to the stunned council. "Give me access to your civilian networks," he said. "Your trade nodes. Your communication arrays." Calith stared. "You plan to fight with words again?" Max shook his head. "No," he said quietly. "This time, I fight with people." The galaxy held its breath. And humanity's true strength was about to be revealed. Max did not ask for weapons. That confused everyone. The Dominion's admirals argued loudly, demanding fleets, shields, and preemptive strikes. The Carex Collective was known for crushing resistance within hours. Their ships were bigger. Their weapons stronger. Their tactics brutal and direct. Max listened quietly. Then he spoke. "You can't outgun them," he said. "So stop trying." The room fell silent. "You can outthink them," Max continued. "But not the way you're used to." He requested access to the Dominion's civilian networks, merchant guilds, labor unions, shipping cooperatives, refugee channels, and local planetary forums. The Council hesitated. Those systems were considered beneath strategic command. Max insisted. "Wars aren't won only by soldiers," he said. "They're won by everyone else." Reluctantly, they agreed. What Max saw shocked even him. The Dominion looked powerful on the surface, but underneath it was fragile. Civilian worlds felt exploited. Traders were frustrated by rigid regulations. Workers resented quotas set by distant elites. Information flowed one way, from the top down. That was not how humans survived. Max began sending messages. Not orders. Not threats. Questions. What do you need to keep your routes running? What slows you down? What would you do differently if you had the choice? At first, the responses were cautious. Then curious. Then overwhelming. Millions of voices answered. Ideas poured in. Workarounds. Local innovations. Hidden stockpiles. Civilian pilots offered routes the military didn't know existed. Engineers suggested simple modifications to shield harmonics. Dock workers revealed patterns in Carex scouting behavior they had noticed over years. The Dominion had ignored these voices. Max listened. He didn't centralize control. He distributed it. Instead of commanding fleets, Max encouraged independent action. Merchant convoys were rerouted through unpredictable paths. Civilian ships carried decoy signals. Refugee fleets became mobile sensor networks. The Carex were used to fighting empires. They had never fought a population. Within hours, their advance slowed. Their scouts reported conflicting data. Supply lines failed to intercept targets. Ambushes never materialized where expected. The Carex commander grew angry. "This resistance is inefficient," it snarled. "Disorganized." But inefficiency was the point. On the Dominion capital, Calith watched the tactical map in disbelief. "They're adapting too slowly," she whispered. "They should have broken through by now." Max stood beside her, arms crossed. "They're optimized for conquest," he said. "Not confusion." A Dominion officer approached nervously. "The civilian networks asking who authorized this." Max smiled faintly. "Tell them," he said, "they did." The purists were furious. "This is chaos," their leader snapped. "You are undermining command authority." Max met the alien's glare. "No," he said calmly. "I'm replacing it with trust." The purist recoiled as if struck. Trust was not a Dominion concept. But it worked. As the Carex pushed deeper, something unexpected happened. Defections. Small systems under Carex control began resisting quietly. Trade partners delayed shipments. Local populations sabotaged infrastructure. Information leaked to the Dominion through unofficial channels. Why? Because Max's message had spread beyond Dominion space. He spoke openly on shared frequencies, not as a ruler, but as a human. You don't have to win, his message said. You just have to make conquest too expensive. The idea caught fire. The Carrack's commander finally demanded direct negotiation. The channel opened again. You are not using military doctrine, the commander accused. You are corrupting our operational certainty. Max nodded. That's called learning. You claim no formal authority, the commander said. Yet entire systems respond to you. Why? Max paused. Then he answered honestly. Because I treat them like they matter. The commander stared in silence. This concept did not compute. Behind the scenes, the purists resumed their investigation. They found it. No financial empire. No hidden wealth. No resource control. Just one human with no official status. The truth spread quickly among them. He is not the billionaire, one whispered. He is worse, another replied. The purists confronted Caliph. You were deceived, they said. The human asset holds no wealth. Calith's eyes widened, but not in anger. She turned slowly to look at Max across the chamber. He did not deny it. Yes, he said quietly. I'm not who you thought I was. Tension crackled through the air. You are a liar, a purist hissed. Max shook his head. I never claimed to be rich, he said. You assumed. The room went silent. Caliph felt something shift inside her. All this time, it wasn't wealth guiding him. It was experience. Before the purists could act, alarms blared again. The Carrack's fleet was retreating. Not defeated, but stalled. Their conquest calculus had changed. Too many variables. Too much resistance. Too little gain. They withdrew to reassess. The Dominion had survived. Because of a human janitor. The council reconvened in emergency session. Some demanded Max's arrest. Others demanded his protection. Caliph stood. You believed wealth was the source of his power, she said. You were wrong. She turned to Max. You showed us something new. Max exhaled slowly. I didn't save you, he said. Your people did. I just helped them talk to each other. Silence followed. Then something unprecedented happened. The council bowed. Far across the galaxy, human signals spiked. Earth had noticed. They saw the messages. The resistance. The change. For the first time, humanity was not being studied. It was being watched. And feared. Not for its money, but for its mind. Max stood alone later, staring at the stars. The lie was gone. The danger was greater than ever. But so was the truth. Humanity didn't need a billionaire to matter. It only needed a voice. And the galaxy was finally listening. The galaxy did not calm down after the Carrack's retreat. It grew tense. Empires did not withdraw without returning stronger, and everyone in the Dominion knew it. The difference now was that fear no longer pointed in one direction. It pointed inward. At Max. The truth was no longer a rumor. It was confirmed, recorded, and quietly spreading through the highest levels of power. He was not a billionaire. He had never been rich. He had never owned anything worth conquering. And yet, the Dominion still stood. Some council members felt shame. Others felt anger. A few felt something worse, envy. The purists saw an opportunity. If he has no wealth, their leader argued in closed council, then he has no protection. Remove him. Restore order. Caliph listened in silence. She had watched Max work. She had seen fear turn into cooperation. Chaos into strength. She knew something the purists did not want to accept. The Dominion no longer belonged to them. Max felt the shift immediately. Security around his residence doubled, then changed. Guards stopped making eye contact. Access permissions tightened. Meetings were cancelled without explanation. He was being isolated. That night, Calith came to him privately. "They are preparing to detain you," she said. "Officially, for your safety." Max nodded. "Unofficially. To silence you." He exhaled slowly. "Figures." "You could flee," Calith said. "I can arrange it." Max looked out at the stars. "No," he said. "Running proves them right." Calith searched his face. "Then what will you do?" Max turned to her. "What humans always do," he said. "Adapt." The purists struck at dawn. Security units stormed Max's chambers, weapons humming with restrained force. They found him sitting calmly, hands folded, waiting. "You are no longer under council protection," the purist leader announced. "Your influence destabilizes the Dominion." Max stood without resistance. "Before you arrest me," he said, "answer one question." The purist hesitated. "Speak." "Who's running your civilian networks right now?" Silence. "Who's coordinating trade routes?" Max continued. "Who's keeping border worlds calm? Who do your people trust?" The purist's jaw tightened. "You think popularity equals power," the alien snapped. "No," Max replied. "I think connection does." They took him anyway. The news spread faster than they expected. Civilian networks lit up with confusion, then anger. Merchants halted shipments. Pilots refused military requisitions. Engineers paused maintenance cycles. Not in rebellion. In uncertainty. They waited. The Carracks returned 3 hours later. This time, their fleet was larger. More aggressive. More confident. They did not threaten negotiation. They attacked. Dominion defenses faltered. Civilian coordination collapsed without Max's quiet guidance. Old command structures struggled to regain control. Calith stood in the war chamber, watching failure unfold. She made a decision. "Release him," she said. The purists stared in disbelief. "You would hand control back to a fraud," one demanded. "No," Calith said firmly. "I would hand it to the only being the galaxy listens to right now." Max was brought back to the command floor as explosions flared across the outer defense grid. No ceremony. No apology. Just desperation. Max looked at the tactical map, then at Calith. "You don't have time for pride," he said quietly. "Neither do we," she replied. He turned to the network. Not to command. To speak. "This is Max," his voice carried across channels, translated instantly. "I'm not rich. I'm not powerful. And I don't own anything worth dying for." Silence followed. "But I know this," Max continued. "Empires fall when people stop believing they matter. So if you're listening, pilots, traders, engineers, civilians, you do." Responses flooded in. Faster than before. Stronger. Human colonies joined the frequency. Earth governments tried to intervene. Max ignored them all. "This isn't about nations," he said. "It's about people." The counter-strategy formed organically. Human logistics crews rerouted Dominion supply chains using old human redundancy methods. Civilian ships deployed improvised sensor nets. Engineers overloaded Carrack's targeting systems by feeding them conflicting civilian data patterns. The Carrack's fleet slowed. Again. Then fractured. Their rigid hierarchy could not process distributed resistance. The cost-benefit models broke. They withdrew. For good. When the battle ended, the Dominion stood in stunned silence. They had nearly destroyed themselves by rejecting the truth. Calith approached Max. "You were right," she said. "We feared the wrong thing." Max nodded. "Happens a lot." The council convened one last time. No purist spoke. Calith stood before them. "The human is not wealthy," she said. "He is not noble. He holds no title." She looked at Max. "He will not rule us." Max blinked. "Good." Calith smiled faintly. But he will teach us. As Max walked away from the chamber, messages poured in from across the galaxy. From humans. From aliens. From worlds that had never spoken before. They didn't ask for orders. They asked for guidance. Max stopped, overwhelmed. For the first time since he'd been taken, he felt the weight of something real. Responsibility. Humanity had been seen. The galaxy would never forget it. The galaxy did not return to what it was. It couldn't. Too many systems had watched a so-called insignificant species reshape the outcome of a war without firing a single superweapon. Too many leaders had seen their own people respond, not to fear, not to wealth, but to inclusion. The idea spread faster than any fleet ever could. Humans called it cooperation. The Dominion called it instability. Max called it normal. In the weeks after the Carrack's withdrawal, the Dominion changed its posture toward humanity. Observation protocols were revised. Threat models rewritten. Humans were no longer classified as economically volatile primitives. They were labeled something far more dangerous. Adaptive strategists. Max was offered a permanent role, advisor to the Dominion Council. No throne. No title of power. Just access. He refused the throne again. But he accepted the access. Because influence, he had learned, was more powerful when it wasn't enforced. Human envoys arrived soon after. Not politicians at first, but engineers, medics, logistics planners, disaster response specialists. The Dominion had asked for human experts. What they received was something unexpected. Teams. Humans didn't send their best individuals. They sent people who worked well together. The Dominion struggled to understand this. Why not your leaders? Calith asked Max as they observed a human engineering crew laughing while rebuilding a damaged orbital ring. Because leaders aren't always the ones who solve problems, Max replied. Sometimes they just organize the people who do. Calith watched in silence as humans improvised solutions using tools the Dominion had dismissed as obsolete. They didn't replace alien systems. They adapted them. The purists dissolved quietly. Some retired. Some joined civilian networks. A few vanished into obscurity, unable to accept a galaxy where power flowed sideways instead of downward. No purge followed. Max insisted on that. You punish fear, he told Calith, and you teach people to hide it. You confront it, and you teach them to grow. The Dominion listened. For once. Earth changed too. Humanity had been watched before, but always from above. Now the galaxy watched sideways. Human trade routes expanded. Human philosophies spread. Not through conquest, but through compatibility. Worlds that struggled under rigid hierarchies found human methods, comfortable, messy, but effective. Human colonies became hubs, not because they were rich, but because they were adaptable. And everyone remembered why. One cycle later, Max stood once more in the chamber where he had first woken up, confused and terrified. The stars outside looked the same. He did not. Calith stood beside him. You never asked to go home, she said. Max smiled softly. I didn't know where home was anymore. And now? He thought for a moment. Now, he said, home feels bigger. A final message arrived from the Carrack's collective. Not a threat. A request. They wanted talks. The galaxy held its breath. Calith looked at Maximum. They want you. Max sighed. Figures. He stood straighter. Open the channel. The Carrack's commander appeared, its posture cautious for the first time. You disrupted our models, it said. We seek understanding. Max nodded. Good start. You possess no fleet, the commander continued. No wealth. No hierarchy. Why do your people follow you? Max answered without hesitation. Because I don't ask them to, he said. Silence stretched. Then the commander bowed. A gesture no one had ever recorded from the Carrack's. When the channel closed, Calith exhaled slowly. You were mistaken for a billionaire, she said. And instead, you changed the galaxy. Max chuckled quietly. Guess they aimed too low. In the end, history did not remember Max Hale as a ruler. It remembered him as proof. Proof that humanity's strength was never its money, never its weapons, never its technology alone. It was its ability to connect, adapt, and rise together. The galaxy learned something new that day. Never underestimate a species that survives without certainty. Never fear a human for what they own. Fear them for what they can become when they are finally seen. The end.